Hey, Kelly,
What's up, Alex?
you want to do a dead end?
Oh, I love those. I love those.
So, one of the great things about being our age, we were born in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
One of the great things about being our age is we kind of were present for some of the stuff from like post World War II,
Yeah.
ends of that stuff. But then we still get to, exist in this time where we get to see all the cutting edge technology. But
Yeah, man. I think there's nothing better than Gen X.
yeah, it's underrated because we kind of got to experience the old timey world, but we're not so old that we can't hang with the young bucks today.
That's us
Um,
in
but
the club.
I want to talk about a thing that existed just at the tail end of when we were kids. It was just going away then, and probably if you lived in more rural areas, you experienced it more. But that's the drive-in movies.
Oh, drive-in movies. Wow.
Did you ever go to the drive-in?
I think one time, maybe
Only
one
once.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't a regular thing for me. And I always found it kind of an odd deal, like that whole car culture thing of, Sonic and eating in your car, and then the drive-in movie, watching the movie in your car. Yeah, kind of
You had
weird.
a big car though. You could have.
I did.
You could have hosted a lot of people in your car.
And I think if they charged by the car, I probably could have made a killing on that. Like charge
Well,
everybody $2 in the car, get 20 people in it, so that's $40, and then it's $10 for the car to get in, profit of $30. Should have done that.
And your numbers are way off because they actually used to do that sometimes. In fact, when I was growing up, we had a drive-in in our town, and on I think Wednesday nights they had a special where it was $5 per car,
Wow.
and we would fit 4 or 5 people in the car. This is back when you first had friends that were driving. I was probably 13. I had friends that were 16. And you put 4 or 5 people in the car and then another 2 or 3 in the trunk.
Were you a trunk guy?
I was always a trunk guy. I was always pretty small. I was always in the trunk. And
by the way, we said trunk, guys, for everyone. He's not
trunk of the car.
Yeah.
And man, we'd get in there and for $5, we could get like 8 or 9 of us, maybe 10 of us in that movie theater.
It wasn't a movie theater.
It's a drive-in.
Yeah.
And so the layout of a drive-in, right? You've got your big giant screen.
Yeah.
And you've got a concession stand. That was always a big thing at the At the drive-in. You could
that's
walk
where
around.
they make their money.
Yeah. You walk around. There's usually a playground for kids.
Yeah.
And then you've got right next to the car is like this stand, and it had a speaker that you had with a wire, like a cord on it. And you took that speaker and you would attach it to the window. You'd roll down your window like a quarter way. You'd attach the speaker to your car, and it would have like a little volume dial on it, and the sound would come out of that speaker.
So basically, the driver is hearing everything really loud, and in the back seat they can barely hear.
No, it pumped out a lot of sound. I mean, it was tinny, it wasn't stereo or anything.
Yeah.
Later on, they would do things like they would do those micro broadcasts where you turn your radio to like 87.9 or something, and they would broadcast it and roll your windows up. But no, the real deal was to get that tinny speaker to clip onto your window, and it would have this real tinny sound, but it would come in and you'd get to listen to the movie. So drive-in started in 1915.
Wow.
And they didn't have to worry about the sound then because these were silent movies, right?
And they were all horses and buggies.
No, this is when cars first started. Yeah.
Okay.
The first drive-in was in Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Really?
And it was kind of a partial drive-through. In fact, a drive-in. They had it was an amphitheater that had like 700 seats in it, and they would show movies outside. And then behind the amphitheater, they had room for like 40 cars. So if you just pulled up with your car, and cars, not a lot of people had cars, but you pull up and you could watch the movie behind the amphitheater. I like that setup. I think that sounds really fresh.
Yeah, kind of. And then there was a mosh pit down in the very front, right?
Yeah, sure. 1915. Have you ever been to Comanche, Texas?
No, never have.
That's on my way when I drive to Lubbock. It's on my way
Okay.
to Lubbock. And they used to show silent movies there in 1921. So there were definitely some drive-in movies back then. But 1932 was actually patented in New Jersey by this guy, Richard Hollingshead. He's the kind of the father of the drive-in movie.
All
He
right.
actually did some tests in his driveway where he would nail screens to trees in his backyard, and he would set a projector on the hood of his car, and he put a radio behind the screen, and he was tinkering with this thing and finally perfected it and put it out there. And this was his slogan. It's not a great slogan. He wasn't a great slogan guy. He was a patent guy. Slogan was, "The whole family is welcome, regardless of how noisy the children are." I feel like they could punch that up a little. It's a terrible slogan.
Yeah. Are you a patent guy or a slogan guy?
I definitely, of the two, I would be a slogan guy.
Yeah, I think me
I'm
too.
not a patent guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm an idea guy.
Yeah.
And then somebody else goes run with that. So he had this drive-in in Camden, New Jersey, but after 3 years, it didn't make a profit. He sold the theater. And then after that, it started catching on. He just was a little too early.
A little too bleeding edge. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about 1932.
He was like the Google Glass of his time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 1932 was just a little early. That was pre-World War II. That was, I mean, cars really started getting popular after World War II, right? Everyone came home. So he was just about 10 or 15 years too early with this stuff. One of the first drive-ins was actually in Galveston, Texas. They had one in 1934. They had a drive-in.
Okay.
The sound was really a problem. Everybody, usually they'd try to put these big speakers in the front of the under the screen, and you have to if you were parked far away, you couldn't hear it very well. And RCA actually built those speakers in 1941, and probably the ones that I was using in the 80s was probably the same ones from the 40s that were built. Like I said, after World War II, two things happened. Everybody started driving cars, and everybody started having babies.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the baby boom came, and if you wanted to go out to a movie, you had to get a babysitter. All right? That cost money. So
because your kids were really loud and noisy. But wait, where could I take my noisy, loud children?
You didn't even have to dress them up. You could take them in the pajamas. You could just get in the car, go down to the movie. The kids you could get food from the concession stand. They could play on the playground. It was really a pretty genius idea.
Yeah.
And perfect for the time. Like, cars were big. Literally, they were popular and they were big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you could fit a lot of people in them. It probably was pretty roomy to have your whole family in the car. They said it was ideal for a first date. I don't know about that. Kind of stuck in the car with somebody. If you don't like them, it seems like a terrible. But they would promote it as ideal for the first date.
Ideal for the first date.
But they really capitalized on these for the whole family thing. In fact,
right.
Some of these drive-ins would have bottle warmers at the concession stand. They had diaper vending machines.
Okay.
They were really leaning into the family thing. Some of them had miniature golf. They had pools. So the movie was just kind of in the background. It was like
It sounds like a minor league baseball game.
Dude, there was even one where it was a motel next to it, and they had it situated where you could open the blinds and you could watch the movie from bed.
Okay. So how did they do the sound on that one, I wonder?
Probably they had one of those RCA things in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Part of the deal.
They were also, though, if you've seen the movie Grease or anything from the 50s, they were also kind of known as passion pits, where people go and make out, neck.
Is that what passion pit means?
Yeah, in this case it does.
Okay, like the backseat of a Buick.
Sure, heavy petting, necking,
first base.
Yeah, all the Happy Days kind of stuff.
Yeah,
They'd go to the drive-in, make out. A lot of these places would have church on Sundays. They had these big areas, so they would not in using the theater, but just they had all this land.
So like a
Um,
drive-in church, would you pull in your car and
yeah,
hear the preacher through the
yeah,
speaker?
sure,
Wow.
yeah. They were really big. They were getting really big in the 50s and 60s. One of the biggest ones was the Johnny All Weather Drive-In in Copeg, New York. Have you ever heard of Copeg, New York?
No, never been there.
It uh, it had 25 room for 2,500 cars.
What?
It had a restaurant with a rooftop seating and a truck.
2,500. Well, that must have been like multiple screens.
Oh, there was one in Massachusetts for 5,000 cars. The Lowe's Open Air Theater.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what was the downfall of drive-ins?
Global warming.
No,
Could have been. Gas prices.
that's one of them. The energy crisis. There's the energy crisis.
Environmentalism. Tree huggers.
The big thing was home entertainment got better.
Oh, yeah.
VCRs.
Yep. VCRs.
The advent of the VCR made it where why are we going out? We can watch it. We can rent a movie and watch it at home.
That's right.
You know,
Laser
whatever.
discs. These
That's right.
other dead ends killed that other dead end.
Right.
Some dead ends killed another dead end.
One of the other things that people are saying that killed the drive-in, though, was along with the energy crisis came daylight savings. And so you could only watch these movies when it got
In the dark.
And
Yeah.
so now it was getting dark an hour later. So
Right.
you'd have to
So who
show
wants to
movies
go to
that-
a movie at like 9:30?
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't start
And
till
especially
9:30.
if you market it for the family, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So because movies were starting later and because families stopped going, now these drive-ins that had all this land, now they had to switch to porn, right? They had to start so
Did
you
they
had
really
this-
do that?
Yeah,
Was that a real
yeah.
thing?
Yeah, it's a real thing. So they started showing porn and more adult-oriented R-rated movies.
How do you even do that though when everyone can see it? That's the part I don't get. Is all you had to do was just stand there by the side of the road and look, and
Well, you know,
you might see Dick Clark.
maybe some people aren't trying to come up with all these illegitimate ways to watch porn, Kelly.
Well, okay, hold on. You mentioned the downfall. There is one dead end that I'm really looking forward to, and I hope you are too. No, I'm serious. Daylight savings times. I cannot wait until we have a dead end about daylight savings time.
Yeah, careful what you wish for. Careful what you wish for, man.
But that's going to make drive-in movies popular again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the idea of getting rid of it as much as you might like it. I think when you really think it through, it's fine the way it is.
It's stupid the way it is.
Okay.
I've thought it through.
One of my favorite things though, you mentioned being able to watch it from afar.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things would be when we would be on a road trip, and somewhere like in the middle of the country or, Missouri or Oklahoma, and you'd see these drive-ins from far away. You
Yeah.
remember this? You'd be in a car trip and you could see you could see just way off in the distance. You'd see, and as you get closer, you could see what movie it was even.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I think when a lot of them turned to porn, they just had to make bigger fences, higher fences,
Is that what it was?
or maybe the ones that were off the road didn't do that.
But I mean, how many actually turned to porn?
Oh, I don't have a figure on that, but
I mean, that was a thing.
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I never really heard of that.
Yeah. Well, you don't hang in the same place as I do.
So you would just pull up in your car and probably by yourself.
Right? I'm not going to judge how you spend your time.
You weren't bringing the family with you anymore.
No,
it was just you and
it was a passion pit, man.
Yeah, okay. And they just had a Kleenex dispenser.
Oh, come on, man. I think at its peak there were 4,000 drive-ins in the U.S.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
And by the 1980s, there only was like 200.
200.
So you know what happened? A lot of them, once they became dilapidated, they turned into flea markets, right? All
yeah,
the land,
that makes sense.
A lot of them are flea markets.
Place
a lot of
to
them
park.
became industrial parks.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what you can find. You can just Google this stuff. A lot of them got hit by tornadoes because of where they were and because they're just out in the open. And the real popular thing to do after your driving got hit by a tornado was to write something on the marquee. Do you know what that thing would be? That everybody came up with the same
now
joke.
playing Twister.
Close. Now playing Gone with the Wind.
Oh,
Get it? Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. So, like everything else that we talk about, or a lot of things that we talk about in Dead Ends, everything that comes out tries to come back, right?
Yeah.
And so drive-ins have tried to come back a few times. For a while, they were having these ideas of guerrilla drive-ins, or like gonzo drive-ins, where people would.
They only showed Planet of the Apes.
No, not that kind of guerrilla. Where they would they would have these groups that would meet up and decide to watch a movie like on the side of a building, or on a side of a warehouse or something, or like on the side of a container, like a shipping container or something. Somebody would bring a projector and they'd watch a movie like in some gonzo place, and it would be like some internet rumor that if you show up here, we're showing,
and Moby's going to do a set afterward.
Yeah. And these would be these would be really like obscure movies or art house movies or those kind of things. Then more vintage drive-ins became popular. Like everything that's old, it's like, oh, we're going to rehabilitate this drive-in, and then now we're going to make it like a boutique would only let 50 cars in.
Right.
So by 2006, there were actually 500. So in the 80s, there were 200. They were starting to come back. You don't even need a projector if you want to start your own drive-in now. You don't even need a projector anymore. You can have those jumbotrons. In fact, you don't even need it to be at night anymore, right? Because the technology is so good.
They should just let us pull into DKR.
Well, that's right. And you remember during COVID, like a lot of comedians were playing open air shows where you'd just bring your car and they'd show up, people would honk and stuff. So drive-ins kind of got a resurgence during COVID. They're making a little bit of a comeback. I know there's one in Austin. I think it's called Moon Tower Drive-In or something like that. It's not related to the comedy festival, but I think it's called Moon Tower. It's like one of these vintage ones that is trying to make a comeback. And I think I sent you a thing about they're coupling silent movies now with rock albums. Yeah. They're kind of trying to be like the Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
There's a Buster Keaton movie that's coupled with an REM record. That's going to be one of the first ones. And they're going to show these at drive-ins, and they're going to, you can be able to put it on your car radio, or probably that would be better than streaming it. Cause when you stream it, everybody's like synced up differently. Right.
Yeah.
That wouldn't work so well.
Yeah. Yeah. Car radio has no, not as much lag.
Right. Latency. If you had an app and you said, oh yeah, you got to start it now, everybody's would
as soon as you see the lion roar for the third time, you push play on Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
And then you go.
You ever done that?
Yeah. It's actually there's a lot of stuff to it.
Yeah.
But it really has more to do with what you've ingested than the movie itself.
Sure. But that's how some of these are going to make it, by doing quirky things like that. I think we're probably in terms of an alternative to a movie theater, or probably those days are over. But for special things like that, it might be a fun night out. Maybe
we should do our first live podcast from a drive-in.
Sure. Ask Moon Tower if they want to.
Yeah. You want us to? We'll recreate the Dead End about drive-ins.
We'll just lip sync it. Play it, and we'll just lip sync it.
We'll act it out.
We'll be on two chairs at the front of the stage.
Right.
We don't even really have to lip sync it because everyone will be so far away they can't see our lips.
Right.
We'll just sit there acting like we're having a conversation.
Right. We'll actually be talking because there won't be any mics. It'll just be the pre-recorded audio.
Yeah, and it'll come through. But I insist on the RCA tinny speaker.
Yeah, that makes me sound better for sure.
Yeah. All
right, man. Drive-ins. Thank you. Support your local drive-in.
Yeah, and hit that passion pit by yourself or with somebody else.
All right, good one.
Popcorn crunch beneath the stars, exhaust fumes drifting from parked cars. Kids running wild, can't keep still. Summer nights have their own thrill. Driving screen flickers so bright, speakers crackle all through the night. In the backseat, love feels right. Movies play till the morning light. Smell of nostalgia fills the air. Candy wrappers tossed without a care. Couples sneaking kisses sweet in the shadows where hearts beat. Engine hums a steady tune underneath the silver moon. Rebel against the quiet sound, unpolished joy all around. Driving screen flickers so bright, speakers crackle all through the night. In the backseat, love feels right. Movies play till the morning light. Old film scenes paint memories. Cars lined up like swaying trees. Hand in hand we ride the wave in our own little hideaway cave. Smell of nostalgia fills the air. Candy wrappers tossed without a care. Couples sneaking kisses sweet in the shadows where hearts beat.